So dozens gathered at the Arlington, Texas Police Department to protest following the dismissal of an officer who killed an unarmed man. Now, demonstrators said Officer Brad Miller should be charged with a crime after shooting 19-year-old Christian Taylor last week at a car dealership. Arlington's police chief spoke about Miller's dismissal Tuesday night.
Based on a preponderance of evidence available to me and the facts revealed by the investigative team, I have decided to terminate Officer Miller's employment with the Arlington Police Department for exercising poor judgment.
Well, Police Chief Will Johnson also said the department is working with the FBI to investigate the case and to determine whether the shooting was a civil rights violation. Let's bring in Vincent Hill from Atlanta. He is a private investigator and former officer with the Nashville Police Department. Vincent, good to have you on the program. A lot of evidence here that seems to be cited by this chief. He was fired for, the quote is, inappropriate judgment after the shooting death of Christian Taylor. What does your gut tell you happened here?
Well, I think that this officer made a rookie mistake, and it's obvious that he rushed into the building after Christian Taylor by himself before backup was available. There's standard procedure in police work called cover and contact officer. Once Taylor was in the building, he could have easily set up a perimeter on the backside of the building, even called for K-9 to come out, and flush him out. He didn't have to rush in the building the way he did. Yeah,
so he had options. So Miller, part of the statement here is that Miller mistook a bulge in Taylor's pocket that he thought was a gun. Now, you don't, maybe this is part of what you're talking about here, a rookie mistake upon rookie mistake. You don't open fire based on something in a person's pocket that you think is a gun. I mean, there are steps you take here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, guns have consistency. They're going to look like a gun. I'm not sure exactly what was in his pocket, but it's obvious it wasn't a gun. And there was no actual threat to that officer at that point.
Yeah. Miller was fired, I understand, while still on probation.
Correct.
Presumably, that would save the department from having to defend against a possible lawsuit from Miller, correct?
Absolutely. And, when officers are on probation, they can be fired for cause. And, when you're talking about taking someone's life that was probably preventable, that's definitely something that you're going to get fired for.
Yeah. Cause can be just about anything, right? So will the prosecutor who gets to look at this case, is that prosecutor likely to indict? Or if there is a grand jury process in Arlington, maybe put this case before a grand jury?
I don't think so, Tony. Here's why. At the end of the day, the officer was responding to a call, which gave him a legal right to approach Christian Taylor. So, it's tragic what happened, but at the end of the day, he was responding to a call, doing his duties.
Gotcha. So let me ask a broader question here. 24 states have passed anywhere in the neighborhood of 40 new laws since Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, Missouri. Not a single one includes language that further clarifies when officers are justified in using deadly force. Is it time to have that discussion?
Well, there is clarification when officers can use deadly force. There's the use of force continuum, which has been around for hundreds of years. The problem with trying to make policies or laws concerning lethal force or deadly force is quite simply you don't know when you're going to have to make that split-second decision. I mean, I've been on that end of the world where I've had to make those split-second decisions. So you can make as many policies or laws as you want, but there's nothing that's going to tell you you have to make that split-second decision.
Right, which is probably why we haven't seen anything in that area, because it's not going to go anywhere, right? So what advice?
Absolutely.
Yeah, what advice would you give to the next generation, just to sort of broaden it out and wrap it up here, the next generation of academy graduates who are about to be rookie cops out there?
Well, the first thing I would say is remember, everyone's watching. Cell phones, obviously there was cameras at the car dealership, so you're always under the public eye. So something you may do that's justified and legal is going to be scrutinized. So you always want to be careful with that. And also, get back to community policing. I remember growing up, McGruff the crime dog used to come to the schools, police would come out. Right. You don't see that anymore, Tony. So we need to get back to community policing and build that trust back into the neighborhoods and between neighborhoods and communities.
Christian, one more, and this is just something that's nagging away at me. The chief seemed, in this case, seemed really strong on this point that we've got a lot of evidence that this officer did not behave well. Do you suspect that there, in addition to video from outside in the parking lot, that there is also some surveillance video that we have yet to see? And I don't know that you know this, but do you suspect that there's some video from inside the car dealership that might be illustrative of what happened inside?
Absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about a business of that size that keeps vehicles actually in the building, of course they're going to have surveillance cameras in there. So I'd be curious myself to see exactly what is on that footage and what drove the chief to make that decision.
Yeah, Vincent, appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Vincent Hill,
Thank you.
joining us from Atlanta.